Logic, symbols, and statements. Today starts a new mini section. Here we take a look at the thought of logic. We're going to begin with defining a statement. A statement is a declarative sentence that is either true or false. So it's either true or it is false. There's no middle ground. Next definition, conjunction. The symbol that looks like an upside down V represents the English word and. Just so you know, in future chapters, this upside down capital U will be used to represent and instead. I find those two symbols pretty similar, upside down U and an upside down V, so they both mean and. Here's an example for the conjunction. List the states that have an capital A in the name and the states that are on the West Coast. There are 3 states that fit those 2 criteria. They must have an A in the name. And sorry, it doesn't have to be a capital A, just an A in the name. And they have to be on the West Coast. So that leaves Alaska, California, and Washington. Moving on to the next definition, which is disjunction. Disjunction we use with the symbol V, and it represents the English word or. In future chapters, it'll be a capital U instead of that V. It'll still represent or. The example for disjunction is list the West Coast states that have an A in the name or the states that border Canada. So all of the West Coast states that have an A in the name we knew were Alaska, California, and Washington. And then it says, or the states that border Canada. Well, we already know Washington and Alaska border Canada, but there's many others, and those are Idaho, Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. And yes, I had to look at a map to figure that out. Our last definition is negation. The symbol tilde represents the English word not. The symbolic statement not P can be read as not P, or the opposite of P. So that tilde P can be read as not P or the opposite of P. The example for the negation is if P is the statement, count the shirts that have green in them, then the opposite of P is count all the shirts that do not have green in them.